I'm Rick Conbo. I'm really glad you're here. What we're going to talk about today is an area that will help differentiate you in your career as a successful manager. Because most people don't do so well at this. And it's 5 stages of teamwork. And here's a revolutionary thought. It takes teamwork to get the job done. Now that seems kind of weird to say, but the truth is over 2/3 of teams fail in companies today. In other words, people talk teamwork, but they don't really get it done. And so that's why I say it's an area for you to differentiate yourself. So pay close attention to what we're going to do here. Stick with this, and it'll make a difference in what you do. So let's get right into it. Here are the 5 key reasons why teams fail. They don't have a goal or plan. In other words, it's when people come together, then they don't know what's going on. They don't know what their role is and how they're going to contribute. They don't have the training to work as a team. See, working together as a team, people have to collaborate and cooperate. And a lot of our cultures are about do it on your own, get it done. So they have to be taught how to do that. And then there's no conflict. Quite frankly, you need to have conflict on teams. Conflict is defined as differences of opinion on how to get things done. And then if you know how to collaborate and cooperate, then you can work through that conflict constructively and positively. And then in addition, there's a lack of communication about how we're doing, who's doing it, small groups within a team, progress we're being made, problems, what we're doing with them, those kinds of things. So these are the 5 reasons that get in the way. What I'm going to share with you are the stages of team development to help you break through that so you can prepare for that and make a difference. Now, I need to mention, teamwork requires extraordinary unselfishness. It isn't about you as the team member. It's about the team. Could you imagine NASA sending the Apollo spacecraft to the moon and what they're thinking about, will I look good in the press? Not really caring about the astronauts and whether or not they made it safely or not. It doesn't even make sense, does it? Or the military going to war and it's all about the individuals. No, it's all about the objective, about what we need to accomplish. And so teamwork requires that viewpoint. And if, as a leader, we don't create that or model that in our teams, we already run into some difficulties. Now, let's get into it. Let's look at the 5 stages of team success. It's forming, norming, storming, performing, and reforming. Let me talk about each one of these briefly. First one is forming. You have to be good at selecting who's going to contribute. It's good to have a mix of people in terms of experiences and backgrounds. And then we need to talk up front as a team. Who are we? What are we bringing to the table? What are we here for? So that's what forming is. What's our role? What's our overall objective? Those kinds of conversations. People are kind of hands off in the beginning because they're wondering what's going to happen here. How am I going to contribute? And so we need to kind of bring them together through a communication process under the forming stage. That takes some time and attention. The norming stage is then we get down to business. Okay, what's our plan going to be? What do we need to be looking at? See, what has to be accomplished? How are we going to do it? There's 2 things that a team needs to consider in the beginning. Content and process. The content is what we're going to do. The process is how we're going to do it together. What are our guidelines for working together? What are our values? What's our workflow? Those kinds of things. So you have to talk about that. You have to discuss it and work on it together as a group. And then the 3rd stage, as I mentioned, is storming. Inevitably, conflict comes up, differences of opinion. Some of it difficult, some of it not so difficult. We have to talk about that. We have to work through it. How are we going to work through differences of opinion? The leader of the group and other members of the group need to know how to facilitate and go through problem-solving processes and conflict resolution processes. So it can relate to the plans that they have about what they need to accomplish. In the storming stage also, you're beginning to get into some detail of the plan, maybe even some of the execution. The 4th stage is the performing stage. Now we've understood who we are. We've laid out a game plan about what we're going to do, how we're going to do it together. We've talked about some plans and some conflict that come up as a result of that. And then we get into let's doing it. Let's execute. Let's start coming up with some solutions to those problems and achieving some progress and some results. That's performing. Now, does it always go perfectly well? No, things can come up. Maybe a new member comes on, a difficulty, unexpected challenge comes up, and then you work through that based on what you've done so forth. You have some history through the earlier stages of the team of understanding how you're going to do that together. And the reforming stage is whenever there's a change. Like I said, maybe a new member, maybe an unexpected problem, maybe a new goal you have to achieve. But we need to go through these. It's almost like the natural stages of human beings coming together and learning to cooperate together. And if we work through these steps and consider these things in each of them, guess what happens? We perform better. Rather than what often happens to teams is they show up, okay, what are we going to do? We're going to do this, okay? And you get right into what the plan is and executing it and trying to get it done. And there's no guidelines, there's no process, there's no structure to being effective. And that's why a lot of teams fail. And the other reason a lot of teams fail is that they're just not good at understanding the human dimension side of that process. And that's how we work together, the facilitation skills that are required. Now, other thing I want to mention to you is this. Teamwork is a value, not an action. If you don't believe in working with and through others, what often happens as a leader is we fail because we want to have the limelight. We want to be known as the one that, gets the glory for getting the results achieved, as opposed to praising and recognizing and rewarding the team for their input, for their involvement, for their participation, for their help, for their expertise. That's what we're after. It's a value. You have to want to do this. You have to believe in the power of people in coming up with an even better result. The reason teams fail a lot of times, as I mentioned, is that not that they can't. It's just that we don't believe in them. So we don't help them through the process. We don't give them the tools, as I mentioned earlier, the training that's needed to be successful. I can guarantee you, if you learn these 5 stages of team development well, you can have breakthrough performance, not average performance, breakthrough. We've worked with lots of organizations that are able to achieve this because they follow that process. Here's one example. We were working with a manufacturer that built trucks. And they wanted to improve their customer experience. One of the tools we used was team development. We broke people down into groups and put them in the teams to work on various problems in the organization and taught them how to do that effectively, followed those 5 stages, avoided the problems that come up, and it's an amazing thing happened. Their customer experience in their dealership locations significantly improved. We had dealers with, dealerships with teams of, 7 teams, 15 teams, 22 teams, all working on various issues. And what happened is it brought the whole organization together to say, we can do this. We can serve our customer better. And boom, they did it. Their numbers went up. Their quality went up. They won awards. It's amazing what can happen. Now, these ideas that I talked about come from our book, Superstar Leadership, and our model of effective leadership, and it teaches you how to be effective in accomplishing those kinds of results. That's what we're after. Now, I hope you paid attention. If you want to get it again, go back and watch the video again. Read our book. We also have a book called Creating a High Performance Team that can help you with this, and you will succeed and differentiate yourself from all the other managers. Hey, I have this dream that soars on golden wings. I visualize your achievements and your legacy that sings. I do not know all about your awesome goals, your persistent efforts to raise the bar. I only know you can be the best, a superstar. Thanks for coming.